Hi, Sarah. So I'm looking at your second lesson plans here. I'm so glad that you sent me that email letting me know that, I was looking at your rough drafts and everything. So no worries about that. Sorry it's taken me so long to get back around to these. I looked through the first couple pages here and pretty much same thing from, that you had in there before. Okay, so your levels of Bloom's taxonomy are inconsistent with the ones that I know, especially because evaluating is a really high level. And so let's continue to talk about that, or come visit me about that, or make some changes. You let me know what you need to do so that you and I can be on the same page with those pieces. Okay, remembering is like a level one, and so that's really like I said, just really kind of inconsistent with what I know about Bloom's. Okay, so this first lesson plan here is consistent with the one that you had before. So you read Horton Hears a Who, and I didn't see that picked up too terribly much later on. And yet, Sarah, it's a great idea. It's the perfect accessible text for the kids to play with, as they try and move through their ideas, with this large universal question and with Jonathan Swift's satire. And so I want to see you use this a little bit more in class, okay? So you have them, transition them a little bit more from this idea into this idea. All right. And then you do a great job at walking them through some definitions of claim, differentiating that from counterclaim. I think that's nicely done. I'm a big fan of graphic organizers, especially in this case, because you've got the two juxtaposed right here and then asking for reasons underneath that. I like that. Okay. Um, then you have them break into small groups and complete their graphic organizers. I like that as well, because that way they have an opportunity to talk through their ideas instead of just writing them. And that demonstrates to me that you're thinking about your students, who they are, what they need, and I like to see those. All right. And then written reflection and homework. Okay, on to your next lesson plan. Again, I see we're working on the same goal, claims and counterclaims here. All right, let's and I like, that the second one you have them working towards their thesis statement. And so then you have a working thesis statement. How can we as a society find a solution for unwanted children? Support your answer with evidence. All right. All right. Let's scroll down here. There's the graphic organizer. And okay, so you have them talking with their groups for a few minutes and deciding which claim is the strongest. And there's a little bit of concern here because you haven't established any criteria or asked them to establish any criteria regarding which claim is the strongest. Does that mean which claim is worded the best, which claim has the best kind of support, which claim is the most clearly and concisely written? There are a lot of different criteria the kids can play with. And again, this is kind of that piece where we need to be very careful as writing teachers, because kids can feel like there's some secret magic answer in our head that we're just waiting to pounce on them with, like, gotcha, that's not the best one. And then they go, oh man, but we want to be very explicit about this. So strong claims have the following qualities: one, two, three. And so look for those claims, and when I call on you, be able to justify your claims using the one, two, three. Something very lockstep like that, okay? So have them discuss it and have them share it out. And then I really like that you've got these different claims around the classroom, um, and that some of them are good claim, one of them is good claim, and the others are not. And that is a really good, because, we talked in class about this whole idea of not always bringing your A game to class when it comes to writing, because that can really intimidate the students. So I like that portion of it. I just want to see you delineate some criteria for those struggling students, especially. Okay. I noticed that in your learning plan, by the way, that you've made this one large column instead of two separate columns, and so it has eliminated any opportunity for differentiation. Eliminated the visual reference for differentiation, and then I worry because I mean, I'm going to keep looking at closely, but I don't think I really see any opportunities for differentiation in here. And with writing, you're going to have some kiddos who really need that and who are, who really struggle with writing in many different ways. Okay. All right. So now you walk them through strong thesis statement. Okay. So just a thought here that you may want to flip flop these two. Okay. And then, excuse me, flip flop demonstrating the criteria with then asking them to evaluate, okay, so that way they've got some working ideas in place and then they can implement those ideas to evaluate. And again, that's very stair stepping for that Bloom's taxonomy piece. All right. Okay, and what I especially like about this section of the lesson plan is the shared talk time with the students, that you're asking questions, waiting for feedback or response, asking questions, waiting for response. And that's really important so that, you're sharing that talk time in class with the students, all right? Moving on, so this one's brand new, I think, for me. You're looking at essay structure in particular through the planning strategies. I'm a big fan of graphic organizers. I don't think they work for everyone, but I think the kids who feel strong about writing know how to use them already, and the kids who don't feel strong about writing feel like they've got something concrete to cling to. So I'm a pretty big fan of those, and I like the way that you've implemented these here, okay? Um, I notice again you've got a PowerPoint, and we always have to be careful as teachers, death by PowerPoint. But what I really like that I'm seeing here is that you've thought through so carefully what you're going to say to the students. All right. So this is something that I mentioned before. So I guess this one isn't new. It's kind of weird to just open up the PowerPoint and look at this sentence. It's just, it's a difficult sentence to read, and I'm not just saying that because I'm an old lady, but that's a little it's a little heinous, and then you put it right up there, and then your question is this: what can we say about the way this argument is structured? And you're going to have many kids reeling over the content, and then you pop up a structure question, they're going to look at you like you got two heads, right? They're going to be like, what? We want to talk about the content. That's disgusting. What is this? Blah, blah, blah. You're just going to have a classroom management nightmare on your hands. If you want the kids to look at structure, give them something where the content's not going to trip them up with something, something so kind of stunning like that, okay? So here you move them through their thesis statement, and again with this graphic organizer, and I like the fact that you've explained the graphic organizer to them, okay? Now here I see you with a thesis statement. Unwanted children can be helped in our society through foster care programs. I want to warn you about something here. What you've done is stolen from those kids one of the best thesis statements that could possibly be written in response to your prompt. And it's your example now, and they cannot go and write that example. And you have elaborated your example into some specific ideas here, and that has gone and taken those ideas from the kids. You introduced Horton Hears a Who, and there's nothing wrong with modeling alongside of the students, that you're going to pull a thesis statement using Horton Hears a Who, and you're going to model for them your think aloud and your structure and the questions you want them asking themselves, so that then you can ask them to do those pieces over here. I've found that to be true over the years, that when you steal the best idea from your students, it does something weird to them, and we can continue to talk about that in class, okay? I like the fact that you have some very specific scaffolding points here, and I think this is the second moment of differentiation that I've noticed in here: simplified graphic organizer. And so I'm glad to see that you're thinking about those pieces occasionally, okay? So then, getting the students' attention and closing out class. Okay. And I love to see the fact that you're thinking about closing out class every day nicely too. Okay, so this is your final lesson plan. I see you. I see that you've chosen the right kind of evidence outcome here. A bit of a misconnect here. Revision is necessary to to show strong relate. Oh, no, for Pete's sake, what am I saying? It's a very direct match in between these two right here. Nicely done on that. Sorry. Um, Bobby just came downstairs and interrupted me to tell me dinner's ready, and it just threw me for a bit of a loop. Sorry about that. Okay, I like to see that you're reorganizing the room. I like that you have an example paragraph like I mentioned up above. I hope that you're going to reimagine that paragraph for Horton Hears a Who so that you don't steal those best ideas. But I like that you have that, and I like that you have a think aloud for the students regarding what it is that you're looking for. Again, you've got a little note of differentiation here, and I'm glad to see that you're thinking about that. The remainder of the lesson plan is well done and well scaffolded, but like I said, I want to see you not steal those ideas from the kids, okay? There's a lot of things I love about your lesson planning, Sarah. I love that you're thinking very closely about wait time. You're thinking very carefully about what kinds of words you want to say to your students, and that demonstrates some real thoughtfulness on your part. Nicely done. Thank you.